Hello, my name's Alan Foom, and today I'm going to talk about natural gas flaring. This is an environmental abomination and a colossal waste of resources. We should do something about it. So a little bit about two types of flaring. Now, what is flaring? Flaring is a controlled burning of hydrocarbons at oil and gas installations. And sometimes you need to do it. Safety reason for that. So this is a picture of a North Sea platform, and this is something called the flare stack. So you can see that little flame over there burning at the top of that, that's the flare. Now, it's occasionally essential to purge the system of hydrocarbons, and you do that by putting everything through the flare stack and burning it off. Might be needed to do that for essential safety reasons. Very rare, but there's always a little flare burning in case you need to do that. So that's the safety flaring, which is actually a very small percentage of the total. The thing I want to talk about, which I'm really very unhappy about, is routine flaring. So this is the disposal of unwanted associated gas which is produced during oil production. Now, all oil comes out of the ground has gas dissolved in it. And there's a measure called the gas-oil ratio, which is the percentage of volume of gas associated with each barrel of oil. High GOR oils have high gas-oil ratios and lower GOR oils have lower gas-oil ratios. And when you don't have a market for the gas, the safest way to dispose of it is by flaring, which does have environmental degradation, and it needs to be stopped. This is a picture from the Niger Delta, an area of significant poverty with very interruptible electricity, very low energy supplies, sitting on top of all of the soil, and then all of this is being flared. What a waste. Now, the World Bank has a flaring reduction program, and this is a map taken from their website, which I would recommend visiting, which shows where the flare hotspots are around the world. So you can see in the Americas, you have parts of the USA. So this is where the shale gas and shale oil is. So that's the Bakken, Permian, Eagle Ford, parts of Canada, Venezuela, then the Middle East, as well as Algeria, parts of West Africa, then parts of former Soviet Union, parts of China. So you can see flaring is a problem. And just how big it is a problem. So this is the total flared volume in billions of cubic meters per year. And you can see you're around 140. It's declined since 2000, but it's still significantly high. And this is a production of some significant gas producers. So we're flaring more gas than Australia is producing, than Norway is producing. Almost as much as Qatar, China, Canada. It's a disgrace. We need to do something about it. This is a graph showing oil production, which is the orange line, in thousands of barrels of oil per day, and the total flared volume, which is in red from this similar scale, in billions of cubic meters per year. You can see it's declined till about 2010, but it's been steadily and a little bit growing up since then. It's a problem. In terms of flare intensity, again, which is the yellow line, declined since 2000 to about 2010 and then pretty much flatlined since then with a little bit of a recent uptick. We need to do something about it. Looking at countries that have got the biggest contribution to flaring, they tend to be the biggest oil producers, but not quite. So Russia is the biggest contributor, although it's also a significant gas exporter, so Gazprom need to get their finger out, sort this. Iraq, Iran, USA, then Algeria, Venezuela, Nigeria. But you look at Saudi, world's biggest oil producer, yet flares a lot less volume. Saudis can do it, you can do it too. And this is flaring intensity, so this is meters cubed per barrel. So you can see Venezuela is flaring 30 cubic meters of gas for every barrel of oil they produce. Algeria is over 20, Turkmenistan's over 20, and then there's a long tail. And Russia's actually sort of towards the middle, could do better. But before the UK gets really smug, flares a lot more gas than Norway. Not good at all. So looking at large oil producers, so this is a set of charts that I've done for different geographies. So this is in terms of flaring volume on the x-axis, flaring intensity on the y-axis, and the bubble size is the oil production in barrels of oil per day. So you can see Russia, America, Saudi Arabia all produce roughly the same sort of volume, yet Russia flares a lot more gas than America does and Saudi Arabia doesn't flare very much. Iran, Iraq, two bad boys up here. Now, okay, they've had quite a lot of significant political, economic, and other situations in both of those two countries. Iraq's had a big issue with power cuts. If they can hook up more of their gas to electricity generation, could alleviate a lot of poverty, lead to more economic development. Iran's had its own issues in terms of sanctions, etc. When you look at Kuwait, how relatively little they flare. Then looking through the Middle East, so again, Iran, Iraq, Saudi, Kuwait, Qatar. The yellow blob is UAE, very similar figures to Kuwait, so they're overlain, and that's Oman. Again, flared volume, flaring intensity, and the bubble size is the total oil production. Looking at South America, Brazil, biggest oil producer by far, relatively low flaring intensity, despite quite a lot of their new oil fields being offshore using FPSOs, floating production, storage, and offtake. Again, Colombia, Ecuador, Venezuela is got significant problems, not only in gas flaring in terms of economics and society, etc. And Trinidad and Tobago, again, a significant gas exporter, and some of the LNG plants are beginning to get a little short of gas. Something needs to be done about it. Looking at the former Soviet Union, Russia doesn't actually look that bad compared to its fellow members. So if you've got Azerbaijan, they're the good guys. Low flaring volume, low flaring intensity, they capture what they do. Kazakhstan also doing pretty well. Ukraine, not that great, although they don't produce actually that much oil, so it's not such a big issue. But Uzbekistan, Turkmenistan, the two countries up here, they flare a lot relatively. In fact, Uzbekistan's one of the biggest flarers out there. Again, high energy demand. We should connect this up. Looking at Africa, Nigeria is a classic case in the Niger Delta, and there have been several initiatives to try to reduce that in terms of gas use. Angola is doing very well, Algeria less so, Libya, Congo Republic, and Egypt. And if you're looking at Northwest Europe, Norway and the UK, similar oils, similar age of installations, similar policies, you would think. Not so good. Now, the OGA is Oil and Gas Authority in the UK is having initiatives to try to reduce flaring, and this is something that really needs to be done because this is not good enough. We need to fix this. So we need to reduce flaring by as much as possible. Now, how do we do that? We need to develop local markets for the gas. Electricity, industry, fertiliser, petrochemical. Access to wider markets through either pipelines, LNG, liquefied natural gas, or compressed natural gas. Local gas gathering pipelines to link up the wells to the processing plant to further access the market. And if marketing the gas is not possible, for example, if you're in deep water in a floating production, storage, and offtake system, rather than flaring the gas, we should regulate to ensure that that gas is pumped back into the ground for safe disposal in a reservoir, geological disposal. We need to monitor flaring worldwide, and the World Bank data does that. World Bank Flaring Reduction Partnership does that. We need appropriate regulations, and we need to pressure politicians to ensure that they are done that way. National regulators, local regulators at state or province level, and industry. We need to reduce this. We need to put pressure on IOCs, international oil companies, lobby the NOCs. We have a social license to operate. One of those is to ensure that we reduce flaring to produce better environmental performance, because what we're doing ain't good enough. Example, however, of how people have done things. So this is a chart that Art Berman, a major energy commentator, posted on Twitter, looking at the Bakken in North Dakota. So relatively remote. And this is looking at the gas production. So the yellow is the flared gas. The blue is the gas that's marketed, that's going into the system. It's being sold into the market to do things. Now, it's a light tight oil with a high gas oil ratio. Not much local market in North Dakota, a relatively sparsely populated place, but when you link it up to the gas grid, you can sell it into the mainstream. And you can see how much there's been in terms of reduction of gas flaring. Now, this is a new area that was developed. So once they've hooked that up to the pipelines, that gas is now marketing, we're wasting less. So thank you very much. Please like and subscribe. We need to reduce flaring. So this is USA. This is in the Permian Basin, West Texas and New Mexico. You can see The bright lights are flaring rather than just the bright lights of Lubbock and El Paso and Midland, Odessa. This needs to get fixed. We need to stop this. We need to reduce that. This is Vietnam, again, Asian country, developing, energy hungry, using coal rather than this, and are burning this gas and are wasting it. We shouldn't do this. We need to fix this. Thank you very much. Please like, please subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.